That's what I'm hoping for. And remembering that at some point when we were younger, I want to tap into that part of everybody when we're at that age, when we were just excited about the world and interested. And actually there's one thing in here at the very beginning that I put in, and it's an Augie, which is actually also the name of my dog, but this came first. The name of the dog came from this. And it's I don't know if anybody can see, but it's a little owl that my son actually traded for me. My oldest son is a software engineer, so he made this image for me. And the footnotes have a little Augie at each one so that you know what it's heading you towards. And Augie stands for the advancement of unbiased global intellectual exploration. So the teachers at this school are called keepers because the story is the keepers of the rock. So the secret organization is the keepers of the rock. And so Keeper Allegria writes, "See the adorable owl above? He's your little knowledge guide. Augie, if you read an interesting scientific or historic fact, the Augie at the bottom of the page will lead you to the footnote, guiding you to further information. We at the College of Geoevolution, the name of the school, challenge you to be curious and expand your awareness of the glorious world around you. Keeper Reese believes Augie's name is a bit pretentious, but I think it's clever and has a poetic ring to it. He won't admit it, but I know he wishes he thought of it himself. Anyway, go on. We dare you. There's always room to learn more."
Welcome back to Living the Next Chapter, the author podcast, where we get to meet amazing authors from around the world. If you've ever watched a TV show back in the day, well, yeah, I think I was like in public school. It was M.A.S.H. You might be interested to know that that show was filmed close to where my guest is joining us from today, which is exciting. We're going to talk about that because I would like to nerd out about that just a little bit. But E.K.Wise is here on the show, and I'm really excited to have her on the podcast. I've had a chance to talk to her already for a little bit, and yeah, you're going to love her new book, audiobook as well. She's going to read a little bit for us on the show. That makes me super happy. EK, welcome to the podcast. So glad to have you on the show.
Thank you. It is such a privilege to be here, and I'm really looking forward to talking with you.
Excellent. So you are somewhere in the vicinity of where a TV show was filmed. Can you tell us a little bit about where you are and a little bit about what I'm talking about for those who don't know about M.A.S.H?
Yes. So we live in an area called Agora Hills, and actually it's not too far from Paramount Ranch, which is where they used to film all the Westerns. So when it comes to the M.A.S.H TV show, if the very, very beginning of the sequence where the helicopters are flying above that area, that's actually Agora Hills. And there actually is a really nice couple of mile walk that you can take into somewhere in the, out in the hills in the forest area there, where they actually have some of the M.A.S.H set up, where they did some of the filming, which is really cool. So I used to take my scout troop over there and walk around and see all that. So it's a great walk, and it's beautiful. Lots of hills here, and it's kind of quiet, which I really like.
Nice. Excellent. That's great. That would be a walk I'd like to do, because I remember watching that watching that show when I was a kid. My babysitter was a huge fan of the show, so she used to make us watch it when she came to babysit us. I'm like, well, I don't get the show because I was younger at that time, but she loved it, and that music, as soon as that song came on, we're like, oh, here we go. But it was a really funny show, and I love watching it now, kind of in like retro and going back and see it, and it was ahead of its game and ahead of its time back then, and some great actors, right?
You were really lucky that your babysitter had you listen and watch these amazing actors, that incredible. Yeah. Incredible. It was a really great show. That's true. I was also a little when it came out, but yeah, I can look back and go, wow, those were masters at work, and it was pretty interesting.
There you go. I like it. Let's talk a little bit about your journey as an author. Where did the love of writing come from originally for you?
Oh my gosh. So I've actually always been interested in writing creatively. It was always the favorite thing that I got to do in school when we had the opportunity to write stories. I just loved it. And then kind kind of a couple of things coalesced. So I remembered, trying to remember how old I was, but I want to say maybe around 11. And I think I was reading Sidney Sheldon's If Tomorrow Comes. And I remember finishing the book thinking, this is what I want to do. I can do this. I can create stories like this. This was so exciting to me. And so I kind of always have kept that inside of me. And then, I went to school and got busy working and having a family. And so I really wanted to get started on that, but it was just busy with 4 kids and writing trying to decide. And then finally, it was kind of funny, but we were living in Texas at the time in San Antonio, and there's a lot of, rock around where all the housing area that we lived in. And so they put down like a little bit of grass, but not too much. So, and my husband and I had this deal where he would pay the taxes if I mowed the lawn. I didn't want anything to do with the tax paying, and he hated mowing the lawn. So I said, fine, I will do that. And so every time I mowed the lawn, I'd have to wear my little ball cap and my sunglasses because I'd get pinged by these little rocks that would shoot up from the grass. And at the same time, my youngest son had that proverbial rock collection, where they got to collect these little rocks that you'd get in museums and stuff like that. And it was really weird. It just organically happened. I would be mowing the lawn, and every time I'd start thinking of these characters. I'd have these characters pop in my mind that had to do with rocks and minerals and elements of the periodic table and volcanoes and earthquakes and all the things that, we all kind of grew up with, having a stage in our lives where we love dinosaurs or we love volcanoes and earthquakes and rocks and things like that. So it kind of came from that. So it was my love from always wanted to be a creative writer, my son's little rock collection. And then the last bit of this special creative brew was when I was in college. The liberal arts school that I went to had a requirement where you had to take a certain amount of math and a certain amount of college classes, science classes. Okay. And I stupidly put myself in something called elementary functions, which is basic math. Why I chose to do that, I was a liberal arts person, but I lasted a whole whopping 5 days. And then I realized by the 5th day, I'm already lost in this class. This is not, why did I do this? And so I desperately had to move into something else. And some friend said, well, we're taking this physical geology class. It's called Rocks for Jocks. It might, you might be able to get in there, and the professor is really cool. So I jumped into that class and I loved it. Mm-hmm. It just opened my eyes, and I got to learn about, Pleistocene and Holocene and all the strata from the earth. And that was the catalyst. So all of those pieces put together at that time in my life, and all of a sudden the story that I knew I wanted to tell was there. And I thought, okay, so this is how it's going to start. So that was the very origin of the beginning of the story, in a very long-winded way.
Nice. Whenever we travel as a family, when our kids were small, we always would try to find a rock and bring it back with us. We have some pretty hefty sized rocks. I think we were a little bit too excited with some of these rocks. They're pretty big, but we have them in front of our house. And then when we moved from one house to another house, we actually had to write it into the sale of the house that we got to keep the rocks and bring it with us, because the kids were like, that's from this place and that's from that place. So we have this affinity for them as well, just as reminders of places we've been, and they're beautiful and unique and different. So, yeah, I kind of I'm resonating with your story around your rocks as well.
I love that. And the fact that each one of those is thousands and thousands of years old and came to being from, whether it's sedimentary or metamorphic from water purposes or just an amalgamation of other things. It's just, each one is so beautiful in its own right and has a great history. And I'm sorry, I'm a rock nerd, so that gets me all excited.
And great paperweights too. If your papers are flying off your desk, a rock will take care of that. There you go.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what about the writing side of this? How did that kind of come into play for you? Were you a writer early on? Did it kind of develop more recently for you?
Well, being a psychology major, constantly writing lots of papers in
Yeah.
school, and then as a clinical psychologist or clinical social worker, excuse me, the various places where I had to work, you had to write up certain things. So there was always writing for me that was more technical writing, but the creative was just, as I said, it was always there. So as I got started, I read a lot. So, and I'm a pretty eclectic reader. So I
Mm.
feel like I was able to learn a lot just by reading great writers. And then I just started, I just, because it's so hard when you're beginning as a writer, especially that very first book. Well, how am I going to write it? And what is my writing style, or what's the writing style for this type of novel? And I think you can get so stuck in that as opposed to just saying, you know what, I'm just going to start putting stuff down on paper. And then I'm going to see as I go along, I'm going to learn and sort of figure it out and improve it. And that's kind of what I did. I just continued to read, and then I continued to edit and, showed it to various people and got advice on, you need to fix this, you need to adjust that. And so it just kind of holistically happened along that way. And then when I had the final finished product, I wound up getting an amazing editor who really helped me. And that was humbling, but also incredibly helpful. And I, highly recommend. And I have to say, I am going the indie route. And I can certainly talk towards that as well, as
Yeah.
opposed to getting an agent. So I had to, get that editor myself, but she was pivotal. And, you have three types of editing. So, your developmental edits are first, and that's where they kind of find any plot holes, or, okay, your pacing's a little slow here. And so she gave me really, really good guidance. And then I'd have to go back to the drawing board and try again and refine it and refine it. And then we would go along until I finally got to what I had. But I learned so much along the way
Mm.
in this whole process, learning tons, especially as an independent writer versus getting an agent and then
Yeah.
being published that way.
Was that your intent to go independent right from the beginning then?
I want to say I should back up and say that I actually wrote a little children's story
Oh,
because I also took a kiddie lit class in high school, which of course was part of my love of it. And I tried to get an agent for that one. And it's just, and I fully understand that process. I get it. And I respect agents and I respect major publishing houses because they have huge overhead.
yeah.
And it's really hard for them to pick an author. Okay, we need to make sure that this book is going to do well because they've got, all this other processes. So I respect that. But I'm also so grateful that we now have routes for independent authors.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, finding and I'd heard another of your authors that you interviewed the other day talk about this as well, that finding an agent, it can be really difficult.
Yeah.
Because for each agent, whether it's an agency with agents in it or an agent themselves, you have to write a query letter.
Right.
And each query is different for each one.
Yeah.
And they're very busy.
Yeah.
And some of them on their websites, they'll tell you, okay, it's going to be 6 months to a year for you to hear from us, if you hear from us. And once again, I'm not disparaging them. They're very busy. They've got a lot of stuff going on, but there creates this other avenue for us. So mainly what I'm saying is don't be discouraged if you are a writer who's starting out and you really have a wonderful story that you want to tell. It's totally fine. There are so many avenues for you and places for you to get help, to get you on that journey, to help you publish your story.
Yeah.
And then, if it's good and people love it and it's interesting, then, you can get people to come to you and sort of broaden things that way, which is the route that I'm taking. But if you have a story that's in you or books that you want to write, you should just go for it, because there is that help available to you. Also, whether it's the editing process or the formatting process or getting cover art, whatever it is, there's people to help you with that. So
Yeah.
You'll be okay and you're not alone.
Yeah. What about just finding your voice as an author? Because this is new for you to write in this way compared to the technical writing you've done in the past. How do you develop your own voice as an author? Like how long in the book did it take you to kind of go, okay, now I know what I'm doing. I kind of know who I am as an author. Like, how long did it take you to come to that part?
That's a really great question. I want to say that I kind of had a sense of how I wanted to tell the story.
Yeah.
I bring a lot of science and historical facts into the story.
Okay.
There's actually footnotes in the story, which kind of shows you. I love learning. I've always wanted to keep learning. I think it's so important for all of us at any time of our lives to be able to keep learning. And so, in a sense, I wanted to bring that. I don't want to say intellectual, but I wanted to bring that sort of knowledge base, fun way of talking about things into the story writing. So in a way, that brought a little bit of my what I learned, through school, through it, and then I wanted to make sure it was a little bit funny because I'm writing about teenagers and adults in a school and so forth. So I actually took a lot of lessons from my kids, just being around and because now the oldest one is 26 and the youngest is 17. So I essentially have been surrounded by teenagers for a good long time and just wanted to make sure I could inject some of that in there. So I want to say about halfway through, I had a sense of like, okay, I can see this is kind of the voice that I have for this story, this series of books that I'm going to have. It was interesting. I don't know that you could pinpoint one exact section of it, but I want to say probably about halfway through. I was like, all right, I can see this is kind of the voice that I have for this story.
Yeah. Okay.
This time around.
What do the kids think of mom writing a book? Like, how's that come up for them?
They're actually really supportive. They're very supportive. They're also very honest. They're willing to tell me when they don't like something, which is, I want to say the biggest influence that they had for the story was kind of the heart of what it's about. And that is the fact that it's a story about a secret society whose goal is to protect the earth from evil creatures and ignorant humans ultimately. And because they are very concerned about the future of the earth and the environment and resources, and that's something that they talk about a lot. So I sort of infused some of that, definitely, and that's definitely in the book, because I think it's something we all think about, and we hear about it a lot, and we're talk about recycling and making sure that we're all doing our part to love our earth and keep it going as strong as it needs to be. So that's definitely, and they influenced me a lot with that because of things they talk about and their friends coming over and talking about the same stuff. So anyway.
Okay. That's good. I think that your audience, which is great. Who would you say then would be your ideal reader? What kind of age range for someone listening or like trying to determine if this is a good book for them or someone they know? Do you have a kind of an age range?
I'd like to say it's from like 10 to 100.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I purposely wrote it clean. That was important to me because since I bring in a lot of history and science facts and stuff, and I love learning so much, I wanted younger kids to be able to get in and get into it, because ultimately it's kind of like that proverbial little rock collection or our dinosaur collection, bringing us all back to that age when there was so much wonder about the world. And I want us all to still have that wonder we have for the world. And like you said, those rocks that you have at your house, that you collect from place to place, they have such meaning for your family and for your kids especially. And that just respect and love for how great the world is and how lucky we are to live on this amazing earth that still surprises us in so many different ways. That is like the whole theme of the book. Love for that and excitement for that. And so I want young kids to be able to read it as well as adults too. I mean, adults, I've had adult friends read it as well, and they're like, oh my gosh, I love this story. So yeah, there's no real, concern or age where they couldn't read it. So absolutely.
All right.
Delve in.
The audiobook is coming out as well, really soon. Did you give any direction for the audiobook on how it would be voiced and all that? Was that something you had input into?
Yeah, I loved that whole process, and being able to work with Marianne Hussey was so lucky. I'm she's amazing, and as I said, the book is it's very. Oh, I said it to you, but not
Yeah,
to everybody
yeah,
else. The other reason that I love about the story, it's very international. So the school itself is made up of young kids that are coming from all over the world, and then the professors, those that have these special abilities, which is what ultimately the book is also about. Are all from all over the world. And so it was really important to me that I have a narrator who could voice those accents
yes,
in a way that, they don't have to be so distinct that they're perfect, but you certainly know from the different areas around the world that they came, because I think it flavors it so much more. And so, yeah, so being able to talk with her about that and having her tweak certain things um, to where I felt like, okay, yeah, that is that character. Absolutely. And she did a fantastic job, which I
well,
knew she would because she's amazing.
I love audiobooks. What I've been doing lately is buying the book and then also buying the audiobook and then listening to the audiobook while I'm reading the book. Then for me, I get to use more of my senses than just
Oh,
reading
sure.
and just listening on their own. The combination of the two, I find I get more out of it by doing that lately. And I actually talked to another author and screenwriter, and he said he does the same thing for movies. He'll go get the screenplay
Mm.
for the movie and then watch the movie and read the screenplay along. And he
Ah,
learned so much about the movie industry and about how to be a better screenwriter by watching someone else's work and then watching the movie and reading. I'm like, so he's doing it in that context. I'm doing it as for authors. And for me, I like the experience of having the two work together.
I can totally see that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's really,
I
really
love that.
fun. Um, did you have a plan at the beginning to have it as an audiobook right away? Or is that was in the works?
Yes, and
Okay.
certainly wasn't right away. The book was out first
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
we put out the audio. But yes, I definitely wanted to do that. It's one of those interesting things that you learn as you go about this process. And I say I say it positively: three steps forward, one step back, as
Mhm.
opposed to two steps forward, one step back. So we're learning. My husband is helping me with the marketing end of it, so that's why I say we. But
Yeah.
learning so much as we go. So, for instance, when you are putting together your novel and you get your novel out there, you have to have to use ACX, which is run by Amazon.
Yeah.
That is their audiobook, I guess, house, you can say, where you
Yeah.
can create it and manage it, find your narrators and so forth. You have to have the book in print on Amazon before you can do that.
Okay.
So you have to have the book out, then you can look into doing
Okay.
the narration. That probably is very different if you have you're published by a major house. They can probably do things, at the
True.
same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's fine. So anyway, once it was out, then we were able to immediately start looking for the narrator for the audiobook.
Great. For the readers that are listening, kind of give us. I mentioned I'm going to ask you a question along this line. Your love letter to a reader. We've kind of talked a little bit about the story and what we're going to find within the story. But if you
Mhm.
could have a few moments just with the reader prior to them actually reading the book, they have a copy in their hand, just received it in the mail, they're ready to read. Before they open the cover and read their first word, do you have a little message for the reader at all, from the author to the reader?
Sure. I hope you really enjoy it. I put so much love into this book and so much research. I want to say ultimately like 15 years from the start of it and that is raising four kids, take as a clinical social worker, also taking care of adult parents. So I'm very much in that sandwich generation. And I once had my internist said to me, I don't like that term sandwich generation because it doesn't do it justice. He says it's like a vice, you know, because sometimes it can be stressful. Which is fine because we weather through it and we get through it. But so yes, 15 years because life happens and you're doing all these other things in the meantime. Um, my book is unique because I also have footnotes in it.
Yeah.
So, and some of them, if you choose to read it by Kindle, then some of the footnotes are actually clickable
Nice.
and they'll take you to websites. For instance, I was able to partner with this wonderful organization called mindat.org, and they are a website that collects original pictures of rocks, minerals, elements from the periodic table in situ, so in their natural state with all the scientific and chemical properties and all that stuff. And so I reached out to them and told them what I was doing, and they said that I could, use their footnote there as a clickable. So if you're reading the story, and let's say I talk about an emerald or a diamond, you can either, if you're reading the book format, you can, go to your computer and look it up through MindDat. But if you're right there on your Kindle, you click on it, and it will take you and show you a picture of an emerald in the ground, as opposed to what it looks like on your finger, which is so different. So it's, and then there's other little scientific and historical information there. So I want you to deep dive. I want you to take a break, put yourself in a place where it's quiet, and I want you to immerse yourself and just really get into the story and love it. And I say it's like a 5D novel. I say 4D or 5D. I'm trying to remember, because it's, you're reading the story.
Yeah.
And then I sprinkle it around with songs that the characters are listening to at certain periods. So I'll say at the beginning of the book, listen to those songs when you're reading the story at that point in the story to help you immerse yourself in it.
Nice.
Then, because it's a very international book and it's a school, we have students in a place. This happens to be in Virginia, near the College of William and Mary, and they're from all over the world. And so we have two major chefs, and their goal is to make sure their students feel like they're at home, because they're in this whole new world. They have these special abilities, and they're in this special school that's going to teach them who they are and what they're going to do in this glorious world. And they want to cook for them. So I also pepper the book with different cuisines, so meals, and I get into details about the meal from this country or that country. And so I encourage my readers to go and cook. I'm actually going to put out a TikTok and an Instagram video probably with the next couple of weeks of me actually cooking one of the meals from the book, from Latvia,
Wow.
which should be fun. A blueberry dumpling soup, which I'm really excited about making. So, so immerse yourself in the story, and whether it's through your taste buds and through reading and through listening, and looking information up, because learning is cool no matter what age you are.
There you go. You got everything covered. That's amazing. Let's talk a little bit about some of the characters we're going to meet in the story as well. Kind of who we're going to meet near the beginning of the book, and what kind of background you can give us on some of the characters we're going to meet.
Okay, so I'll give you the elevator pitch just as
Here we go. Good.
Yeah, here we go. So it's like the Xavier School for gifted youngsters from the X-Men series, except it's an ancient secret society who run this school, and they're basically all have abilities surrounded by natural resources, rocks, minerals, elements of the periodic table, and geological phenomenon like volcanoes and earthquakes. And so what they do is their goal is to protect the earth, and they protect it from these evil creatures who are called Debili, and they actually have the same abilities that our heroes have, but they use it to manipulate humans and to manipulate the earth. So they're very, very evil. And also some ignorant humans. The major component of the secret society, however, is that they are not allowed to meddle in the affairs of human beings. And that's a really important component to me, because I wanted there to be this kind of conflict with these young teens coming in for college, knowing that there's more to meet, the more that meets the, let me restate that. There's more to the world than, they're aware of that. Something's different about them, something's unique about them. They have these interesting abilities, yet in this secret society, they're not allowed to meddle within human affairs directly. And that was really important to me, because I, with my kids, have seen many Marvel movies and DC and love those characters and love those movies. And you see them, like saving the kid from the car or the burning building. But yet then there's still horrible things happening in other parts of the world.
Right.
And they don't take care of those. So that always kind of bugged me in a way. So I wanted my characters to have to wrestle with the idea that, okay, we have these special abilities and we're able to use them in a certain capacity, but we also cannot meddle with the structure of policies and government and things like that. Officially, we can't do that. We can't go in and, take over a country and get rid of some horrible world leader. We can't do that. And there's very specific reasons why they can't, but you have to read the book to find out.
Oh, there you go.
So,
That's a good book.
Each of the I can start with the younger characters. So we have and they're coming once again from all different countries. So for instance, I have this young boy from Latvia who's coming in, and he's what's called a resogem. And that means that he's able to look at minerals and rocks, especially gems that are in, let's say, a jewelry store, polished gem, that have negative energy that's stored inside them. And because there's negative energy stored inside them, if regular people wear those or hold on to them, then some very bad stuff starts happening to them. They start taking on some very negative energy and can actually outwardly do things and harm other people with that. So this secret society really works hard to remove these gems and minerals from society and put them in special places to, once again, protect the earth. And in this sense, protect humanity, because the Debilis are largely in charge of making that happen. And then we have another character from Hawaii who has the ability to sort of deal with volcanoes. So he's able to manipulate volcanic rock, and it heats up in his hands, and to him, it's fine. He doesn't realize that he's doing that. But and then there's, characters with volcanoes and other elements as well. And our professors, who are the adults who have these abilities, not only are they teaching at the school, but their goal is to also go around and make sure that everything is okay with the earth and that they're protecting it from the evil Debili using their abilities as well. So hopefully that gives a
the one thing you had mentioned is possibly reading a portion to the audience. And I always love audiobooks, like we talked about. I do love hearing an author read from their own book, because of anyone in the world who would know the next word on the page, it would be you, because you wrote the book. So hearing it through your perspective, I think we get another way of connecting with the story through the voice of the author. I think it's really special to have that. So can you set up a little bit about what you're going to read to us so that we can kind of anticipate the kind of where we are in the story?
Absolutely. So I'm actually going to read a portion from chapter 1.
Okay.
And this is from our major antagonist. And he basically, his little bit of backstory is that he has been failed in his last attempt to sort of achieve his ultimate goals, which I can't really get into. So he's waking up in a seedy hotel in Bangkok, Thailand, and is sort of planning his next steps. And it's right from chapter 1. So I kind of set things up from the beginning.
Awesome.
All right. So you ready?
Let's go.
And his name is Rajan.
Nice.
After a quick discerning examination, he determined that the knob was composed of a nickel alloy and therefore easily malleable. The process might take longer than normal due to his present condition, but that was to be expected. Rajan's hand hovered inches away from the knob. Although he wasn't touching the filthy thing, he was close enough to ferret out its flaws and almost invisible fractures. His fingers sensed its smooth and hollow consistency. Energy waves pulsed from his fingertips, and he began heating the nickel alloy and manipulating the compounds within. The only resulting sound was a muffled crunch and the clatter of loose pieces as both knobs and latch mechanism compressed. and fell to the floor. Placing 2 fingers into the circular door hole, he exited the room. When he approached the lobby, he observed the simple, dingy room, a small, dark respite from the noises outside. A young man stood behind the lobby counter. Although Rajan was fairly quiet, he hadn't purposely been so. He expected the young man to notice his movements. The clerk seemed in a daze, however. Upon closer examination, his eyes were red-rimmed and glassy, probably in some drug-induced haze, knowing this neighborhood. What a terrible shame and waste. Resting on the old Formica desktop were a small cardboard box and a plastic placard, broken at one corner. The placard read, "For complaints, call, colon," in the native Thai language, Siamese. No phone number was listed. No doubt, he thought, the clerk couldn't handle anything more than a simple exchange of money and room cards. Written on the box in thick black marker were the words, "For lost and found." He reached the counter and finally had the attention of the young clerk, who merely stared at him, waiting for him to begin the exchange. "I am checking out now," Ranjan said in Siamese. The young clerk shrugged. "You paid last night, so you can go." "I'm afraid there was an incident with my doorknob. I'll leave some money for a replacement." He placed his hand into his pocket to remove some cash. The clerk simply motioned with his hand to the complaint placard on the counter. Rajan smiled wryly. "Really? I can't leave the manager extra cash?" "It's not my business," the young man said wearily, as if these types of damages were common. "I see," he replied. "Regardless, I—" Mid-sentence, he noticed the clerk lift his head and look off to the side. His gaze focused on something in his periphery. The clerk wrinkled his nose and sneezed violently. A sulfuric odor, followed by a trail of pungent yellow gas, wafted through the room, followed by an even fainter smell of gingerbread. The clerk looked at him in confusion and sneezed again. Rajan smiled warmly and turned to address the vaporous cloud. "My friend, we rarely get to arrange a meeting as perfect as this. Your timing is impeccable. I believe it's a sign we will finally succeed." While speaking, Rajan ignored the clerk's reaction to the disturbance. Instead, he walked to the hotel entrance, looked to the door, and flipped the plastic window sign to display "No vacancy." That accomplished, he went back to the desk and stared into the clerk's face. The young clerk was having difficulty breathing as the toxic odor and smoke swirled around him. Rajan knew that sulfur and fluoride gas would cause great irritation to the clerk. The clerk's eyes were red and likely stinging, his nose was running, and his throat probably felt raw. Although potential hospitalization was likely, death was not. Rajan didn't yet possess sufficient strength to easily complete the task at hand, but he would manage. He looked down at his own hands and examined his filthy nails. "They're not really my hands. Not in this poor state," he considered. "My normal tools are not fully available." The clerk continued to struggle for a clean breath. Despite moving around to the back area of the room in pursuit of fresher air, the noxious cloud seemed to follow his every movement. Rajan wandered behind the front desk and nabbed a forgotten hand towel. "At least it's not dusty or covered in snot," he sneered. "Such a shame, really," he mused, "to see a young, relatively healthy person destroyed by drug use. I don't think the fates ever planned to be kind to you, young boy. Living in this area, you hardly had a chance." He went up to the young clerk and placed his hands upon his shoulders. "Let me help you end your pain, shall I?" The clerk nodded vigorously, eager for relief. "I understand. I really do. It will be over soon." He gently laid the towel around the clerk's windpipe, wrapped his hands around his neck, and squeezed. Despite the clerk's struggles, his strength was minimal, and the commotion soon stopped. Rajan stood, removed the eyeglasses from his pocket, and placed them into the box provided to be found and repurposed by some future guest. Upon looking inside, he found a pair of large black gloves. "Why, thank you. I believe these will come in handy." He gently placed some baht, the local currency, on the desk. "To pay for the knob, you know," he said to the circling gas, or to no one in particular. "The room really is unusable without it." He glanced at the gloves now on his hands. They were not a perfect fit, but needs must. Can't show these hands at a five-star hotel. Let's get to work now, shall we? He looked at the swirling gas as he walked out, his focus now on getting a cab and heading to the wealthiest part of Sukhumvit. Afterwards, he needed to see a shopkeeper about a stiletto.
I can see myself in the story. I feel like I'm there as you're reading it. I like that. And I get right from the beginning, I can tell you know what you're writing about because there's the terminology, everything about it. I can see your love for what you're writing and your knowledge shining through there. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Thank you for reading that for us.
Oh, sure. And there's actually footnotes in that little page too that kind of describe a little more information if you're interested in the information.
I would think this would be a great book for parents to put in front of their students, their kids that are interested in learning more about all of these things to study and the scientific side of all this. And if you have a student that in your home that is really into this and maybe collects rocks like I do, I think this book is going to really resonate with them.
That's what I'm hoping for. And remembering that at some point when we were younger, I want to tap into that part of everybody when we're at that age, when we were just excited about the world and interested. And actually there's one thing in here at the very beginning that I put in, and it's an Augie, which is actually also the name of my dog, but this came first. The name of the dog came from this.
Okay.
And it's I don't know if anybody can see, but it's a little owl.
Okay.
That my son actually created for me. My oldest son is a software engineer, so he made this image for me. And the footnotes have a little Augie at each one so that you know what it's heading you towards. And Augie stands for the advancement of unbiased global intellectual exploration.
Ooh.
So one of the teachers at this school are called keepers, because the story is the Keepers of the Rock. So the secret organization is the Keepers of the Rock. And so Allegria, Keeper Allegria writes, see the adorable owl above? He's your little knowledge guide. Augie, if you read an interesting scientific or historic fact, the Augie at the bottom of the page will lead you to the footnote, guiding you to further information. We at the College of Geoevolution, the name of the school, challenge you to be curious and expand your awareness of the glorious world around you. Keeper Reese believes Augie's name is a bit pretentious, but I think it's clever and has a poetic ring to it. He won't admit it, but I know he wishes he thought of it himself. Anyway, go on. We dare you. There's always room to learn more.
Amazing. I like that. Let's talk about your website as well, because I see there's a button on here where we can actually meet the keepers.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about the website. Where is a good starting point for the readers? Maybe meet the keepers?
Yeah, so I think I have 2 adult keepers on there right now, and then the rest are the younger students coming in. Okay. And so it gives them a visual of what they look like and what their ability is, and a little bit about themselves, essentially, where they come from. And as I said, what their main interest is in terms of their ability. So whether they can manipulate volcanoes, whether they can manipulate earthquakes or rocks and minerals. The other part, we talked about resogems, which is finding negative energy in a gem or a mineral or periodic table. There's also emogems. And the emogems are the ones that actually are able to heal using a rock, mineral, or element. And that I also find so fascinating, because I like to say that in every mid-sized city, you will find a crystal store or a rock store. I'm sure you've seen these as you've traveled around. Absolutely. And what I find so fascinating is that people have attributed health properties to rocks, minerals, crystals for thousands of years. Since humanity has started, people have felt that way, and we still believe that today. So I wanted to tap into that as well. So some of my characters are actually able to heal with them as well. So there's like a yin and a yang.
Amazing. The portraits on the Meet the Keepers. Who did all your portraits?
I have this wonderful gentleman that I work with through Fiverr, actually, who
Okay,
created them all for me. He's incredible.
nice.
So yes, and hopefully I'll be able to have some more of the adult keepers coming through. But I have two of the most interesting. My snarkiest character is there, and that's Reese, and he is a Reza gem from Australia. And a Reza gem as an adult also kind of taps into the sort of the criminal mind underbelly, the black market around the world. And his job, in addition to being a professor, is kind of keeping tabs on what's going on there and making sure that if there's any debili working around that area, he knows where they are and what they're doing. And he's very kind of snarky and funny and comedic. And he likes to
Amazing.
complain that he likes to take out the PhD theses in the library to use them to help him fall asleep. So
That's amazing. Well, the name of my show is Living the Next Chapter, so I like to ask my guests when they come on. We're celebrating Keepers of the Rock, and it's amazing that this is out for everyone to grab a copy, and they're going to get the audiobook as well when that's available. But for you as an author, now that this is out there in the world, living the next chapter, I got to ask, what's coming down the road for you now that you're a published author? What do you got down the road?
okay, so actually, I'm getting ready to write the next one in the series because I'm hoping it's going to be about 3 to 4 books,
Nice.
depending on how it kind of goes. What I also mention a lot in the story, I have a character with a learning difference because I thought that was very important because I have ADHD, inattentive type, and 3 of my 4 kids, and maybe the dog also has. So for me, writing the next book, it's very, very involved. In fact, I'm bending down out of frame here. This is my tome.
Oh my
I don't know
gosh.
if you can see it.
My gosh.
It's got tabs to it. You probably can't see the tabs,
Yeah.
but maybe you can. But
Yeah.
anyway, this is everything keepers. These are all the rules, the regulations, the development, the world building, the characters,
Wow.
facts and flora and fauna and everything. This is my Bible. Anytime I go traveling and I'm writing, I take it with me. I'm like afraid to, I have it in my carry-on because I will not put it in my luggage because I would be terrified if I lost it.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I'm getting ready to start writing book 2. And so I am not a seat of your pants writer. I'm someone who likes to kind of plot it out.
Yeah.
And of course, that being said, with the many characters that I have, they certainly surprise me along the way.
Nice.
And they'll sort of take me down tangents I wasn't expecting, but I sort of definitely have an outline from which I work from. So I'm getting ready to write book 2, and I'm very, very excited because it's going to be even more action packed. This was a lot of development of the world and sort of getting everybody up to speed of kind of like what this world entails.
Yeah.
And so now I'll be able to really delve into it and open it up a little bit more for everybody, which I'm very excited about.
It's amazing. It's a beautiful book. The cover's beautiful. The story is amazing. Hearing you read it, I got to tell you, that sounded great, by the way, having you read that.
I hope it was okay.
Oh, it was
I stumbled
amazing.
a little bit here and there. So.
I hear your voice go up and I can follow it. You can tell you know these words inside and out. I love that. Yeah, thank you so much for being part of the podcast and sharing your stories with us. I think this is the coolest thing ever. And I love seeing a new author go from an idea, pour their heart into something over a period of time and come up with something they're proud of. I can tell that you're really happy with this book.
Oh, well, also, I want to point people towards my my TikTok and my Instagram, if I
Please.
could,
Yeah.
which is K.Wise. I put various things on there. I also do something called What's in Our Stuff, which is really important to me. And that kind of sort of always ties back to the book. But it's a reminder that we live on this beautiful earth. And so each video will sort of tag into something that we use on an everyday basis and then kind of forget what it's made out of. So I've done videos on, let's say, Pepto-Bismol. That was my very first one, is Pepto-Bismol, because a lot of us, I didn't even know at the beginning, it has a little bit of bismuth in it. So anytime you use that to coat your tummy, you're using an element for the periodic table to kind of make yourself feel better. And then I even hold up a glass and talk about glass, because if you think about it, you'll say, oh, would you like a glass of water or would you like a glass of wine? That's perfect. It's become like a noun in itself. But what's glass made out of? And the fact that we've had glass for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and we use it all the time. And if it breaks, we throw it away. We don't have to worry about it. But what's it made out of? Like, this is something that's still dug from the ground and created and molded for us.
Right.
And so we all just kind of need to remember, and me included, that we live in this beautiful world, and let's have an appreciation for the things that we use every day that help us keep going and make our lives better, because the earth gives us so much and we want to protect her so that we can get back that way and keep her rolling the way she's supposed to.
I love it. So everyone, as you buy EK's book, not when, not if, but when, also go grab a rock somewhere. Not mine, because they're at my house. Don't come to my house. Go somewhere, grab a rock, have it beside you, and then go and start reading this book, and you have your own little pet rock. Because I think that's just going to help you to kind of tie into the story as well and connect with the characters. EK, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Continue writing. Come back in the future. I'd love to reconnect and talk about book number 2.
Absolutely. And if you want a visual little bit of what the world is like, my trailer is also on the website. There's a book trailer there that kind of delves in. It'll give you a much better sense of it all, hopefully, as well. But it's been such a pleasure. And I just love talking with you, Dave. It's been great. And
excellent.
Wish you all the best with your future podcasts and multiple authors. And I just want to say, for anyone who's continuing to write, who's writing, or who wants to write a story, just go for it. It's going to be fine. There's so many people out there that can help you get where you want to go, and don't give up. Don't give up. It might be 3 steps forward, 1 step back, but you're still moving in the right direction. So just keep at it.
Love it. And I know EK would love to hear from you. So through social media, through her website, she'd also love to see your reviews on the book as well. So yes, when you buy this book, please, right, leave a great review. Tell EK what you love about the characters, what you love about the story, any kind of words of encouragement for our authors. I think that's our responsibility as readers, to give back to these amazing authors that we love. So I know EK would love to hear your thoughts. So please be thoughtful and leave a great review wherever you purchase EK's book.
And if you have a thing that you'd like me to talk about, like on my What's in Your Stuff, an object that you think is interesting or important to you, I would love to hear about it. Drop me a line on my website and I will research it and look into it. And maybe I can make a TikTok or Instagram video for you about it.
So go grab a glass of Pepto-Bismol and celebrate the launch of EK's book. I guess we could do that while holding a rock at the same time. So
there you go.
Do all that. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Hey, thank you so much again for pressing play. As you've heard, great guests on the show. And one thing you didn't hear in this conversation is what? What did you not hear? Think about it for a second. That's right. Not a single solitary commercial for a mattress or a supplement or a whatever you call it. No. Why? Because we don't want to break up the conversation with commercials. So the fact that you're still here means that you are a fan of the show, I'm assuming. So if you want to help to keep the podcast going and to make me feel really happy, all I really care about is coffee, okay? I just got to be honest. I love coffee. I'm drinking one right now. It's starting to get cold. I need to warm it up. Helping us with our Buy Me a Coffee link over at livingthenextchapter.com and also in the show notes helps kind of keep the lights on around here. Remember, I'm doing this for free. I'm paying for everything. So I would love to have a little coffee donation, even $5 kind of fills up my cup. And I would love to enjoy a coffee from you. So if you're interested, again, thank you for listening. But you can use our Buy Me a Coffee link and fill up the cup. Thanks for being here.